Hello and welcome back to Horoscope TV. It is so great to have you with us today. We are looking at a week that is, let's just say it's heavily stacked in favor of one specific sign. And if you're an Aquarius, or, if you have an Aquarius in your life that you are desperately trying to figure out, maybe you're dating one, maybe you work for one, this is the briefing you are going to need. We are going to analyze the astrological landscape for the week of February 2nd to February 8th, 2026.
It is, yeah. It's pretty rare that we see a week with this specific kind of volatility. We have this huge concentration of energy in Aquarius, but at the same time, the ruling planet of that sign is waking up and causing what looks like, well, some serious structural disruption.
Usually when we look at these forecasts, there's a bit of a mix, a little good, a little bad. But looking at the data here, the headline just seems to be high voltage. It sounds like Aquarians are kind of the main characters of the zodiac this week.
Oh, absolutely. They are the stars of the cosmic show right now. The spotlight is directly on them. The microphone is in their hand. But, the problem with being the star is that everyone is watching you. And with the planetary geometry we're seeing, the potential for let's say, the public short circuit is very, very high.
Okay, let's get into the why behind that. We have this term that comes up a lot in astrology, a stellium. For anyone listening who hasn't memorized their astro dictionary, what exactly are we looking at here?
A stellium is essentially a traffic jam of planets in a single sign. It just concentrates the energy, focusing it like a laser beam. And right now, we've got the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all traveling through Aquarius at the same time.
Wow. So the three big personal planets, the ones that really affect our day-to-day personality, are all just crammed in the Aquarius living room.
Exactly. And let's break down what that trio actually does to the psyche, because it creates a really specific cocktail of personality traits. You've got the Sun, which rules your vitality, your ego. It's how you shine, your core identity. Then Mercury is the mind and communication, how you process things, how you speak, how you text. And then there's Venus, which rules desire, values, and, your social grace.
So when you stack all three of those up in the sign of the water bearer, what's the end result?
It creates this incredible glow. I mean, it is a massive injection of confidence. You feel seen. You feel heard. Your ideas seem sharper. Your jokes land better. You just have this magnetic pull. It's a moment where you feel incredibly significant, like the world is finally speaking your language.
That sounds like a fantastic place to be, honestly. If it were just the stellium, we'd probably just tell everyone to go have a great week and enjoy the party. But that's not the whole picture, is it? We have to talk about the troublemaker.
We do. And this is where all the nuance comes in. So the ruler of Aquarius is the planet Uranus. In astrology, Uranus is the great awakener. It governs rebellion, sudden change, electricity, technology, all the disruptive stuff.
Okay.
And the critical piece of data for this week, the thing that changes the entire texture of everything else, is that on February 4th, Uranus stations direct.
Stations direct. Okay, we hear this term a lot, usually with Mercury retrograde. But what does it mean for a planet like Uranus, I mean, it's one of the outer planets, to stop moving backward and start moving forward again?
Right. Think of a planet in retrograde as a sort of sleeping giant, or maybe a giant that's sleepwalking. The energy is all internalized. It's being processed psychologically. It's just a background hum. But when a planet stations direct, the giant wakes up. The energy shifts from that internal processing to very external action. And because Uranus is the ruling planet for Aquarius, you're going to feel this shift viscerally. It's not just some abstract concept. It feels like someone just plugged you into a whole different power source.
And the location matters, right? Where is this giant waking up?
It's in your fourth house.
Yeah.
And this is the sector of home, family, emotional foundations, and your actual physical living space.
Okay, so we have the planet of shocking sudden disruption waking up in the sector of safety and home. That sounds like a recipe for some serious domestic chaos.
It really creates a paradox.
Yeah.
Because out in the world, with that stellium we just talked about, you're glowing, you look powerful, you seem totally in control. But at home, behind closed doors, the ground is literally shaking. And Uranus doesn't do gradual change. It does abrupt shifts. This could be literal, like waking up Wednesday morning and just suddenly deciding, I cannot live in this apartment for one more second, or, an appliance could blow up and force an emergency renovation.
Or it could be relational with family.
Absolutely. The fourth house is all about family dynamics. This could be a surprise announcement from a parent or a conflict with a roommate or sibling that just comes out of nowhere. The very foundation you're standing on, your emotional bedrock, is moving.
So the psychological profile for the week is basically, I feel like a rock star, but my house is on fire.
That is a very, very accurate summary.
Yeah.
And that tension leads us to the specific friction points, the squares.
Let's define that for everyone listening. A square is a 90-degree angle between planets. In the charts, it usually means conflict, an obstacle.
It's tension that demands action. You can't ignore a square, it just won't let you. And on February 5th, Mercury, which is in your sign, squares Uranus in your home sector. Then on February 8th, Venus, also in your sign, does the exact same thing. It squares Uranus.
So the planets making you feel good and articulate, Mercury and Venus, are basically getting into a fight with the planet that's shaking up your home.
Correct. And psychologically, this shows up as rebellion, anxiety, hyperactivity. But the biggest danger zone here is actually boredom.
Boredom, with all that chaos going on, that seems, I don't know, counterintuitive.
It seems that way, but think about the nature of high-voltage energy. It needs a conduit. It has to go somewhere. If you, as an Aquarius, are just sitting still, or if things feel too routine or normal while this internal storm is brewing, that square to Uranus triggers this incredible urge to just blow things up to feel something.
It's the self-sabotage button. Everything is fine, so let me quit my job and move to a yurt.
Precisely. The impulse is to destroy structures just because they feel confining. But the whole mission for this week is to help you use that energy to innovate rather than destroy. Keep your feet on the ground even while your head is way up in the clouds.
That distinction between innovation and destruction seems really crucial here. Innovation is breaking a rule to make something better. Destruction is just breaking the rule because you hate the rule.
Exactly. And with Uranus involved, the line between those two can be very, very thin.
Let's pivot a little to how all this turbulence affects relationships. Section 2, love and romance. We established that Venus is in Aquarius, which is usually a fantastic transit for attraction.
It is. Venus in your own sign makes you charming, witty. It amplifies that detached, cool Aquarius vibe that people often find completely irresistible. You're the star. You're the person everyone wants to talk to at the party.
But we have that square to Uranus on February 8th. How does the troublemaker influence the star in a romantic context?
It creates a push-pull dynamic. It's classic.
Yeah.
Uranus is the planet of freedom and autonomy. Venus is the planet of connection and intimacy. When they square off, you get this internal conflict between, I want to be with you and get away from me.
It reminds me of that classic cat behavior, scratching at the door to get out, and then 10 seconds later, it's meowing desperately to get back in.
That is the perfect analogy for Aquarius in love this week.
Yeah.
You are the cat at the door. 1 minute, you're completely infatuated, you're engaging, you're flirting, you want deep conversation. 5 minutes later, you feel suffocated and trapped. You might demand space. You might ghost someone for a day, or even pick a fight just to create some distance.
Which, for the poor partner on the receiving end of that, must be incredibly confusing.
Oh, it's totally destabilizing. If you're dating an Aquarius this week, you might feel like you have emotional whiplash. And the risk for you, the Aquarius, is that you become unpredictable to the point where you alienate people. It is perfectly fine to need space. Aquarians require autonomy to function. It's like oxygen. But the way you ask for it really matters. With that Mercury square also in the mix, the tendency is to snap at a partner rather than explain the need.
So the advice for couples is communication over reaction. Instead of just reacting to that feeling of being trapped, you need to actually verbalize it.
Yeah, be aware of the mixed signals.
Yeah.
It's so much better to say, hey, I'm feeling really restless and I just need a long walk on myself, rather than starting a fight about who didn't load the dishwasher just to get an hour of solitude.
Right. What about for the single Aquarians? Does this magnetic, erratic energy actually work in the dating market?
Surprisingly, yes. For singles, this is a wild week. You're giving off this vibe of being hard to catch, which, ironically, makes people want to catch you more. And Uranus rules the unusual, so you might find yourself attracting someone who is completely outside your normal type, or someone from a totally different background.
Someone you wouldn't normally even look twice at.
Exactly. But the warning still stands. Don't ghost people just because you can. You're likely to have a fantastic date and then just disappear because of that overpowering urge for freedom. Just be mindful that you're playing with high stakes and, real feelings. However, there is a very specific moment this week where a meaningful connection is actually really possible.
February 4th. The chart mentions a sextile between Venus and Chiron.
Yes. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. A sextile is a supportive, harmonious aspect. So amidst all this electrical interference from Uranus, this aspect opens up a little window for vulnerability.
Vulnerability isn't typically the first word that comes to mind with Aquarius. They usually prefer logic and detachment.
No, they prefer to analyze feelings rather than actually feel them. But on February 4th, the antidote to all the chaos is admitting fear. If you can manage to say, I'm acting kind of crazy because I'm scared of losing my freedom, rather than just acting crazy, you can have a massive breakthrough at intimacy.
That's a really actionable takeaway. Use February 4th to verbalize what's going on inside. Okay, let's move to the professional side of things. Work, career, communication. We've got the Sun and Mercury in your sign. That usually signals a pretty strong week for business, right?
It does. Your personal brand is incredibly strong. People are listening to you. If you have a presentation, a pitch, or you need to lead a team meeting, the cosmic wind is absolutely at your back. You sound like a visionary. You have this ability to see the future trajectory of a project in a way that other people just can't.
But as we've learned, there's always a but this week, isn't there?
The but is the distraction factor. Remember, Uranus in the home sector. You might be trying to close a massive deal or lead a really important meeting, but in the background, you're dealing with a housing crisis or some family drama. It requires immense compartmentalization.
It's hard to be the CEO of your life when the roof is leaking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the communication risk on February 5th, that Mercury-Uranus square.
I've heard this described as a foot-in-mouth aspect before.
That's a polite way to put it. Mercury governs speech. Uranus governs shock. When they square, the filter completely dissolves. The connection between your brain and your mouth becomes instantaneous, and it totally bypasses the social censor.
So we're looking at radical honesty.
Radical and potentially very abrasive honesty. The Aquarius motto this week might be, I'm just being honest, or I'm just being efficient. But the risk is accidental offense. Your brain is moving so fast, and you're so focused on the logic of an idea, that you just forget the human element. You might insult a boss or a client, not out of malice, but just out of pure bluntness.
This meeting is a complete waste of my time. Might be true, but it's probably not the best thing to say to the CEO in front of the board.
Exactly that. Or telling a colleague, your idea is obsolete. Even if you are right, and as an Aquarius this week, you probably are right, the delivery is shocking.
So what's the strategy? Just stay silent all day.
No, absolutely not. You have valuable things to say. The strategy is the 5-second rule.
Pause before you send the email.
Pause before you answer the question in the meeting. Count to 5. Give your brain just enough time to catch up with your mouth and soften the blow a little. Your ideas are genius. But if the delivery is too sharp, people won't hear the innovation. They'll just hear the insult.
Now, looking at the timeline here, Mercury doesn't actually stay in Aquarius all week. It moves on pretty quickly.
It does. On February 6th, Mercury leaves your sign and enters Pisces.
That's a significant shift. Pisces is the neighboring sign. What does that transition do to your mental focus?
It shifts the focus entirely. It goes from identity and self-promotion, which is Aquarius, to resources and values, which is Pisces. For an Aquarius, Pisces rules the second house. That's the sector of money and income.
So we stop thinking about me and start thinking about my money. Okay, let's look at section 4, money and finance.
So the week starts with volatility. Monday through Wednesday, with those stress squares we talked about, there was a very high risk of retail therapy gone wrong.
Oh, spending to soothe the anxiety. I think we've all been there.
Oh, yes. You feel restless. Uranus is shaking up your home life, so you click buy now on a $3,000 sofa you don't really need, or some high-end gadgets just because you feel bored. The advice is strictly to keep your receipts and avoid any big purchases early in the week.
But once Mercury hits Pisces on the 6th, the energy changes.
It shifts from impulse to intuition. Pisces is imaginative, watery, intuitive. When it lights up your money sector, you get access to a whole different kind of financial intelligence. It's less about spreadsheets and logic and more about that gut feeling.
So, early in the week, lock up the credit card, late in the week, open up a notebook and start brainstorming.
That is the winning formula. You might get a sudden download about a new income stream or a really creative way to monetize a hobby. Trust those late week ideas. They are likely gold.
We've covered the mental and emotional landscape. Let's talk about the physical body. How does high voltage actually manifest in the body?
Okay, imagine plugging a 110-volt appliance into a 220-volt outlet. You're just buzzing. The nervous system is completely lit up. The physical symptoms are often feeling wired but tired. You're exhausted, but you can't sleep because your mind is just racing.
And does Aquarius rule specific parts of the body?
Yes, the ankles and the circulatory system.
The ankles. That seems very specific. Why is they relevant this week?
Well, it's the joint that allows us to move forward, to pivot. The risk this week, particularly around that February 5th Mercury-Uranus square, is rushing. You're running to catch a bus, you're typing on your phone while walking, moving way too fast because your mind is already 3 steps ahead of your body. That's when you trip. That is when you twist an ankle.
So the health advice is, quite literally, to slow down.
You do not have to fix everything in one week, and you need to find a way to discharge that excess energy.
So how do you ground yourself when you feel like a live wire?
Physical exertion definitely helps. Heavy lifting, a good workout at the gym, or even just moving that furniture you decided to rearrange on a whim. But interestingly, diet can play a role here too. I often recommend eating root vegetables during high Uranus transits.
Potatoes and carrots. Really?
Foods that grow deep in the ground carry a heavy grounding frequency. When your head is way up in the stratosphere, eating something earthy helps pull you back down. It sounds simple, but it is energetically very effective.
A baked potato for sanity. I like it. I really do. Okay, let's move to the vibe check. We want to equip everyone listening with the aesthetics and luck for the week.
Let's start with color. The color of the week is blue, specifically a classic electric blue. Think hex code #0000FF.
Why blue?
Blue is cooling. You've got all this heat and friction from the squares. Blue calms the nervous system and it also represents clarity and communication. It just counters that chaotic, red-hot energy of Uranus.
And lucky number.
We have a powerful sequence, 1, 7, 11, 22, 39, and 47. And you'll notice 11 and 22 are master numbers in numerology.
Meaning they carry a higher vibrational frequency.
Exactly. 11 is the visionary, 22 is the master builder. These fit the high-frequency energy of the week perfectly. It's not a mundane week, so you don't get mundane numbers.
Okay, what about the best dates to circle on the calendar?
February 4th and February 6th. The
Yeah.
4th is the Uranus direct day, but it's also that healing Venus-Chiron window we mentioned.
Yeah.
And the 6th is when Mercury enters Pisces, which is what turns on your financial intuition.
And finally, social dynamics. Who is the best match for an Aquarius to hang out with this week?
Gemini.
Another air sign. Makes sense.
Gemini is the best match because they are mutable air, they're flexible, curious, and incredibly quick-witted. They can handle your high energy and your weird ideas without judging you at all. When you're feeling rebellious, Gemini just says, "Let's go, what are we doing?" They help you laugh at the chaos.
And who should we maybe avoid? The worst match.
Scorpio. Why the friction there?
It's a classic clash of elements and modalities. Aquarius is fixed air, Scorpio is fixed water. Fixed means stubborn, neither of you wants to yield an inch.
And water versus air.
Scorpio craves deep emotional merging secrets. Aquarius craves transparency and fresh air. This week, Scorpio will feel like they are suffocating you, and you will make them feel rejected by your need for space.
And on February 7th, the moon actually enters Scorpio.
That sounds bad.
That is the peak danger zone. A power struggle is almost guaranteed if you engage. The advice is just to give Scorpios a wide berth this week, just for this week.
We have covered a lot of ground. Let's try to recap the mission for our Aquarius listeners.
The mission is to ride the lightning without getting electrocuted. You have the power and the visibility of that stellium. Use it. But your foundation is shifting with Uranus. Don't let boredom or anxiety drive you to blow up your relationships or make bad financial decisions.
Innovate, don't detonate.
That is the mantra.
And before we go, we always like to leave our listener with a provocative thought to chew on.
We talked a lot about Uranus shaking up your home sector, and we usually view chaos as a negative thing. But I want you to ask yourself this. If Uranus is shaking up your living situation or your family dynamics, what have you been tolerating that actually needs to go?
That's a powerful reframe. Maybe the chaos isn't an accident. Maybe it's an eviction notice for a bad habit or a stale situation.
Uranus only breaks what is already dead. Remember that.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Horoscope TV. We hope this helps you navigate the high-voltage week ahead. And if you found this analysis helpful, please subscribe so you can get notified when the next episode is available. Stay grounded, Aquarians.